All right, we're back at it. How are you, Patrick?
I'm doing well. I guess
Awesome.
Happy New Year. I mean, it's late January, but
It is.
it's a Happy New Year.
It is. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2022, a
That's
new
right.
season. That's what we can kind of introduce it as, right?
Right, a new season.
Awesome. Well, welcome back to our Padre Football Podcast. I can't call it the preseason or the pre-game podcast anymore.
Right.
It's going to be
Preseason work. I mean, it's
right?
going to be that for a while
That's
now.
true. So we are bringing the football podcast to the off-season, which is really fun. I'm graciously here again with our legendary head coach, Patrick Walsh. And thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Nice to be back.
Yeah. Well, some might remember that I used to provide an adjective before your name every single podcast in the preseason, and I plan to do it again because after the season you just had, there's
Yeah.
the thesaurus full of adjectives. So
Yeah, well, it's embarrassing for me, but I guess you're going to do what you got to do.
exactly. Well, we're excited to be back here. For now, we're going to be hosting this monthly, just to kind of let everybody know, all of our supportive and loyal Padre fans, what progress and philosophy you are doing in the off season, and it kind of might help some of your players if you can give them some advice on how to keep themselves prepared mentally and physically. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about that today.
Sure.
But first, how have you been?
I've been well.
Good.
I've been well. It's kind of next level season for me now. The busiest time of the year for me is December. It's always busy, but December through January 16th, which was last Sunday, is just a wild ride. And thankfully we play late in the season, so it's getting next level. We have 60 sites going this year, close to 19,000 kids.
That's huge.
Playing across many states. And it's great just to bring joy to so many kids, and the kids are out there running around, and our student athletes are coaching them, and it's happening here at Serra. And actually we're such a big program here in San Mateo that we're actually on 3 fields. We're at Hillsdale, San Mateo, and Serra. And it's great when the plane gets off the ground.
I'll bet.
So it's been very busy, but a good start to 2022.
I'll bet. I mean, I can only imagine because I know my Christmas was fast-tracked just because of the state game being on the 11th, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it kind of pushed everything
quick.
back. So I can only imagine we're organizing coaches and teams, and so you had your opening weekend was actually a scrimmage weekend, right?
Yeah, it is in most places. It's just a scrimmage. I call it "Get Your Life Together Sunday." So it's like, all right, you get your life together. You get your life together. I got to get my life together. It's chaos. Now everyone knows where to park. Everyone knows where to go.
Yes.
So and then now we're into the season. Then it comes into the other things like that was a bad call. Student coach didn't show up, and it's all
Which
management.
does happen.
It's all management, but it's fun.
That's great. And so, do you employ mostly Serra students, or are there many other high school
No,
students?
so in San Mateo we have Hillsdale, San Mateo, Serra, and Aragon students coaching.
That's amazing.
We wouldn't have enough.
Right.
There's
I
so
guess
many
so.
teams around here, but the majority of kids that are coaching at Serra are Serra kids.
That's
So,
great. Awesome.
yeah.
Well, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I know that it's a real it's a legendary program. I know the kids love it. My kids play this whole life, and they look forward to it. So awesome. Well, good. I'm glad that's up. A lot's happened with some of our players since our season ended. I wanted to talk about Max Preps announced Jabari Mann was named the sophomore All-American second team for defense for 2021.
Yep.
That's pretty impressive. Can you tell us what that means? Or
Yeah, it's a notoriety thing. It's a good resume builder, and it's a validation of how he plays and how he's going to play. And I think he'll be sad that he's not first team, which I hope.
right? I can see that.
But there's room to grow. There's room for improvement for him, and he knows that. And he's one of the great Padres, working hard right now. So it's just a great honor to. And Max Preps is the biggest kind of one. It's a national award. So we're proud of him. And there's others on there that probably could have made the list, but I'm very thankful that he's notarized that. Or you got the what is it called? The
Notoriety, right?
Yeah, the notoriety. Thank you. That's what you.
It was there.
You notarized
I couldn't see
something
the
too.
thesaurus. I still can't.
Yeah,
actually.
we're a little bit rusty. It's early January, so I'm glad he got the notoriety that he deserves.
Awesome. And just to put it in context, I think the first team All-American quarterback was Mater Dei's, right?
Right.
So it kind of shows.
Yeah.
I mean, best team in the country. We've kind of drilled that into everyone, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it shows that that's a pretty esteemed list.
Very much so.
Awesome. And then I saw that Luke Battari is off to Utah, and I always bring him up because everybody loves Luke, and I just thought maybe you'd want to.
Yeah,
give
totally.
A mention.
Yeah, he was calling me, and the last 48 hours were hectic. And he goes, Coach, I'm getting in my car, I'm driving. I'm like, where? He goes, that's what I don't know yet.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm either driving here or here or here. And then we talked about all the options, and, he threw for some coaches live. And, the first conversation I had with Luke, it just seemed like his heart was at Utah.
That's awesome.
But there were some other irons in the fire. And, I think Cal was in there, University of Nevada, Reno. So there were others, and I'm like, well, at the end of the day, I know Luke's going to make the right choice. And I think his heart was being pulled to Utah no matter what. So, yeah, I'm very excited for him. We're all so excited for him. And, I know he's going to compete and hopefully gets that opportunity to get in the Rose Bowl and do big things.
Yeah. So is he a walk-on?
I believe he's a walk-on. I believe he'll earn a scholarship, quickly.
It's great.
Yeah. So, and they the Battaris have a home in Utah, so it's a total fit for them.
So what is the process for that though? If you're if you're considered a walk-on, I mean, not everybody gets the opportunity to walk on, right?
Right. So it's called a PWO, preferred walk-on.
Okay.
And there's not like 50 quarterbacks on any given roster, so he'll obviously have to beat out a few quarterbacks ahead of him, scholarship quarterbacks, other quarterbacks. But the Georgia kid was a walk-on, the kid who just won the national championship.
Kidding. Yeah. Really?
So there's a lot of success with walk-ons. So he'll have an opportunity, and you give that kid an opportunity, you never know what's going to happen.
That's great. Well, we're all rooting for him. He's always been just such a great Padre and such a big supporter of you and your program.
Totally.
And you see him in the stands at every game, supporting his brother, and
That's right.
his mom's there too. So it's great. So congratulations, Luke.
And play for prevention is a big part of our culture that Luke started, and that he started that around teen suicide and having some pain with that and going through that and doing everything you can to make sure it doesn't happen again. He's just a real special, unique person.
That's wonderful. That's great. Well, it's great to see him rise, so that's wonderful.
For sure.
Awesome. So we are in the off season, and we all know that the off season for a football player is a very opportune time to, just focus on development in general. And I just kind of wanted to talk about the big picture for, Padre football in the off season, like what exactly do you focus on? I know that you highlight the multi-sport athletes and you really want that, but just big picture, what does the offseason look like?
Yeah, it's a big misnomer that we don't support multiple sport athletes. It's actually kind of funny when I hear it, like, oh, I heard out there, you can only play football, and it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because it's not true. The majority of our kids play multiple sports, whether it's track or basketball, or our starting guard was a swimmer a few years ago.
That's awesome.
And, we've talked about this before, but our 2 starting wide receivers one year were the stars in the play. Like I want kids to get out and do stuff.
Absolutely.
I mean, football is just it could be a meat grinder. It can be too much. So, but we are playing Folsom, De La Salle, and Central Catholic, and they're pretty good at football. And then we have the league, which is pretty good at football. So the clock is ticking. It always feels like we're running out of time. But we do. This is the time of year where we do have some time, and I like to think of this as the wolf time. So the strength of the wolf is the pack. The strength of the pack is the wolf, and this is the time where the wolf needs to focus on himself, become the strongest wolf he can do, so we can add to the pack later. So individual gains. We've brought back Dawn Patrol, which is it used to be a staple of Serra football, meaning we work out at 6 a.m. right before school or in the summertime. This was pre-kids, and
yeah, right.
all of a sudden I had kids, I'm like, oh, yeah, I didn't sleep at all. It's 5. I'm not doing that. So it's been kind of on a hiatus for a while, but Coach Brian Wilbur brought it back.
That's awesome.
And we have a wonderful weight room. But it's not big. It's a pound for pound the best weight room on the planet, is what I like to say. But we
perfectly branded. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
Everything's Serra in there.
Everything's
so
Serra.
Beautiful.
It's awesome. We are Serra on the bumper plates, and it's a very cool place. And we call it Chapel Number 2. And so we got that going. The lights are on. It's early. Yeah. Coach Wilbur's running that, and I think it's one of those things where it's like you're happy at 3 when you're like, oh, I'm done. I can go home and be a human.
Right.
But it's also telling, when your alarm goes off in the 5s, it's something to deal with.
Definitely. Well, my son's doing it, and it's so funny because the first night, he's a teenage boy, so you're still noon if you can, right?
Right.
And the first time I was telling Rosie, I hear footsteps and it's like 4:50 or 5 o'clock. And I'm like, did he just go to bed or is he just waking up?
Yeah, he's just showing up.
It's just weird in my house. I was like, okay.
Right.
But I have heard amongst, some of the players on your team, like they were bummed when the season ended. I mean, it's the loss, like you said, of that season, right? You can never get that back. So the Dawn Patrol, while early, I've heard is just really it's just a motivator and a team, and it's a team bonding experience. And actually Coach Wilbur had sent an email to the boys, and it was really, it was talking a lot about discomfort. Like, yes, it's going to be early. Yes, it's going to be dark. Yes, it's going to be cold. And I just kind of wanted to kind of tap into that. Like, what is discomfort? How does that motivate an athlete?
Well, it goes into probably sacrifice. Not everybody does Dawn Patrol. And we're going to have to be different this year. This is the hardest schedule we've ever put together. So we're going to have to find a way to be different, to think different, to maybe gain an advantage over some of the best teams in California. Mm-hmm. And, doing things that others are not doing and sacrificing and, maybe going to bed earlier. You're obviously getting up earlier, making some different life choices. That all adds up over time to when you're actually snapping the ball against another team and then back in your subconscious. It's like it makes it harder to yield when you're getting pushed on. It's a soulful kind of growth process where when things get tough, I mean, it's when things are easy, it's life, we're just cruising along, whatever. And we're all going through some tough times, obviously, but when you're getting pushed on by that guard at De La Salle, who's doing the same thing right now, which I know. And I don't know when Folsom lifts, or I think they have athletic PE, but obviously those guys are lifting and getting after. It's like, okay, we're going to be in some very, very difficult situations early in the year, and hopefully, adding an element like Dawn Patrol where you are making sacrifices, hopefully over time that will put us in a position where we can compete on a higher level, which is why I scheduled all these people.
That's great. Yeah, exactly right. Well, that's great. And I mean, from the physicality and the athleticism, I know they're running. I know they're doing various things. I mean, Coach Wilbur, their entire staff of trainers are absolutely amazing, highest echelon. But what does it do just from like a sports philosophy zone, like for team bonding, like what the sacrifices you make as a group, like how does that benefit the team? Yeah,
I mean, collective pain is, when done correctly, obviously, is...
That could go in a lot of places.
I know. I had to curve that. But collective pain and collective sacrifice, leads to that bonding experience that they're going to be talking about in chapel. Mm-hmm. I guarantee you, they will say, I remember when there was 200X amount of days on the clock, and we were in that thing at 5:50 stretching like this. This is important to us.
Right.
So just kind of it's the off-season program, the things we do in the off-season, things we do in the summer, our track workout, which is really tough. And the track test is, we don't scrimmage. Our scrimmage is the track test. And just all that pain going into doing things in your body that you didn't think was possible, then can elevate the spirit, and then can elevate the team. And then it's, your relationships and the bonds are deeper because you've sacrificed so much physically. And, like you look at the Marines and some of the boot camp and, what is it, SEAL training, and I've read about it. I'm not
right. No, but I mean, there's a million different things that say that, right? I mean,
right. And they don't start with the game. They don't start with shooting drills or whatever. They start with physical pain, and some people don't make it, right? But they start with physical pain, and so do we. And in doing that physical work and physical pain, it builds the soul. At least that's what we think.
That's great. And I imagine too, the opportunity for some of these boys that, just if you play defense or you play special teams, you're not really mixing with as many, teammates. That would probably add to the experience too. Yeah.
It's and we do have Coach Sal's working out and there's also an afternoon group that,
that's great.
Kids, it fits better for them. They come from further away, whatever. It's optional to be in the Dawn Patrol group. We want people to want to be in it.
Yeah.
Kind of that elite concept, like, I'm choosing to be here. Like, you could come at 3, but you could come at 5:30 or 6.
Right.
So, but it doesn't work for everyone's schedule. So we also, Coach Sal has an afternoon group, which also is good for us because it splits the weight room up, and there's limitations on being inside and all that stuff. So it actually we kind of have to do it too. So
true. Well, that's great. I think that's wonderful. I think that, and going back to last season, remember we said, it was like wasn't it the Bellarmine game that we finally saw this team really, really, come together? Like, these are the types of things in the off season that I'm sure add to that, experience happening sooner. Hopefully,
Right.
the very first game.
Right.
Preseason.
You bring up a great point because, this time last year we were like, are we going to play? Are we not going to play? Like, this is crazy.
It's hard to believe.
Yeah. Right. So then we didn't really have this opportunity to build. We were building with the 2020 team, right? At this point. Yeah. Right. The 2020 team is in 2021. So
yeah, that weird spring
the
thing
spring,
happened.
yeah, the weird spring thing. And God, I love that team. I miss that team. I'm so special and dear to this program forever. I'll never forget them. And they poured their hearts and souls in it. Next thing you know, it's summer. And we didn't get to do any of this team building stuff. So that's why I think there was a big delay on what you saw at the 2021 team, because they didn't have the opportunity to do any of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And our summer was abbreviated. Kids were all over the place, going to camps and all this crazy stuff. And we weren't that Padre team until late. But I'm glad we got there.
Yeah, definitely. There's no question, but it will be nice to see them. Just coming off that high. Just being on this, the grand stage, and then, there's a lot of bonded kids there, which is great.
Yep.
From a physical side, how in shape does a high school football player have to be in the off season?
Well, it's a geared approach. So and there's times early in my career where, I thought the game was tomorrow in January, and I would wear the hell out of everybody. It's probably better that I'm not around much this time of year. I got, with my wife and kids and the business and all that fun stuff, because I think I would just wear everyone out, which I used to do. Because it's pedal to the metal all the time. But Coach Wilbur and Coach Sal, Coach Carson, our strength team, they understand that this is a build thing. So we want to play in December. We don't want to burn the guys out right now. So we don't need them to be in perfect track shape right now. We're in the build phase right now where we're putting on muscle. We're building our explosive power. We'll be testing them. We're measuring everything now. We have this software called Bridge Athletics, which is really cool to measure progress.
Oh, that's great.
Right. So
is that the laptops that they take?
Yeah, the laptops that they have in there. So they enter all their data. The workouts on the laptop that Coach Wilbur and Coach Sal upload to the laptop. So everything's right there. They load everything. And we're going to do a better job of that this year. This was one of my major things was, we measure everything. We talk about the stats and we 100%. Talk about all these things and what was the completion percentage and the 12 goals, and we talk about that stuff. And I'm like, well, how much weight did X gain this year? Or how much weight did X lose this year? Whatever. Mm-hmm. We don't know.
Right.
We haven't done an exceptional job of tracking this time of year, but because of the pressure of what we're doing and the schedule we're playing, it's mandatory. So we will know, hey, in January you were cleaning 200 pounds. Now you're cleaning 273 pounds, 275 pounds. Good job.
That's great.
So we can measure everything. So in terms of being in shape, that's we're more working on those numbers. And then when we get into the summer and we get closer to the football season, it's going to be more of a grinding, long shape.
Well, and I think, that's really cool to hear about the bridge technology, because I imagine that it just continues to fine tune, right? Like once you see, what they can clean at this point, like, well, what are you eating? What do you,
Yep.
How are you supplementing? What's your nutrition like? Are you, on any protein powder?
100%. No, you're right.
Very remedial, but
you have to do that, and that's where Brian Carson, Brian Wilbur, Coach Sal, that their expertise comes into that. And since we're with them, we can monitor all that, make sure that they're eating properly, they're sleeping properly. That this is it's a 365-day commitment to football. Also knowing that we want them doing other things.
Of course. Right.
So there's, if you're running around in the gym with Coach Rapp, great. There's no better thing to do for your athleticism than to play basketball.
Right.
So, and we're tracking those guys too as well.
That's great.
Make sure they're staying in it.
Sounds like a lot of wonderful life lessons too on how to take care of yourself, how to mental toughness, discomfort, things like that.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, we've talked a little bit about the conditioning coaches, but what about the football coaches? Are there any, this is just a question. Are there, you see what your opponents look like in the preseason.
Yeah.
What do your coaches, your coaching staff, how are you leading them to, rise in terms of leading their teams?
Right. So, I'm assembling our team from freshman JV to varsity. We're almost done with building the staff. Thankfully, not a lot of turnover this year. We have some turnover, but not much at all. So building that, and then just talking about our plan. What are we learning? What are we doing? How are we getting better? And this is a time of year where our football coaches are more in a learning phase.
I see.
And we're studying what happened last season. What could we do better? We make the cut-ups so we can prepare and teach in the springtime and the summer when we're back at full go with football. So this is the time of year where all our coaches are out and they're scattered around. I saw Coach Monsteff last night at the basketball game.
Nice.
It was great to see. But we're scattered around, but mostly it's wolf time for the coaches too, to individually train themselves and learning, going to clinics, doing the online stuff, listening to podcasts, just bettering ourselves as coaches. So when we are in football time, which we'll do spring ball in May, and then in the summertime is when it's time to take everything that we're doing here,
right,
in the workout rooms and everything, that stuff, and applying it to football. So that's where our coaches are at the moment.
That's pretty cool. No,
Yeah.
I thought about that last night. I was thinking, I'm sure. I mean, it's just we're all bettering ourselves, bettering the program. A question that just came up as you were talking, in terms of, and I think people might want to know, building your team. I know that Sarah, you have a no cut policy for football, right?
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
but what are you guys thinking in terms of you've obviously been able to see some of the younger players. I mean, how do you formulate your team in your mind? Maybe not roster wise, but what happens during this time to prepare for that?
That's a great question. And we've talked to the JV and freshman coaches about some of JV kids are coming up, obviously, but the freshman coaches, talking to them about, guys that could potentially be sophomores on varsity.
Mm-hmm.
So
we saw that last year, didn't we?
We did. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And
12, right?
Yes, 12 sophomores on varsity, which is crazy.
Starters too.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, again, that's an anomaly type situation for many reasons, but one, because they're really good, and another is, because we just had that weird time, with the freshmen. We didn't start our season until March, so we had all that time to get to know them. And
it was short. It was like a 5 week season, or 5 game season. I should say.
But the preparation for it was all of the off season, August, September, October, November, December, January, February. So there was a lot of preparation into the season.
It was a ton of work, but it was so
compacted. But the flip side of that was, on the preparation side of it, if you will, it wasn't compacted. It was delayed. So that gave us an opportunity to get to know the freshmen better than any other freshman class.
Oh, that's great.
Right? So then they played varsity as a freshman, a few of them. And then we knew those kids so well from all the crazy months of workouts that we felt comfortable bringing up a ton of sophomores. So that's where I said it's an anomaly type situation. But we have another great freshman class. They won the WCAL championship.
They did.
So there's a lot of good talent on that roster. So we'll have a handful of guys up, maybe as much as 10.
Wow, that's a lot.
Maybe as much as 10. But this is the time where we're evaluating it. We'll figure it out.
Sure.
We want those kids contributing so that we'll have time to sort that out in the summertime.
That's exciting. I think as a parent, I'm sure a lot of parents are like, how do they figure it out?
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be, because it's not just like in the movies where they go out and, he can run, let's put him here,
Yeah. There's a full human element to it where we discuss and analyze, talk to the parents, talk to the kids, like, hey, they're thinking about playing on varsity this year. We did that with Schumacher last year, because he had a ton of baseball in the summertime, which I fully support, and I want him to do that. And
well, that was you growing up as well, right? You were a multi-sport athlete and a good one. Right.
So I want those kids to have that ability to do that, and then evaluating, is it better for him to be on JVs or is it better for him to be on varsity? And then, that's where we come in pretty much in the summertime and make those determinations.
Yeah. Well, and you made a good one with him because he was very, very useful toward the end of our season.
Absolutely.
Right? So,
absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, is there anything else I didn't ask about, the upcoming season? I mean, questions will come up as we start looking at our opponents and doing all that fun stuff, of course.
No, I think we're on pace. I mean, I'm upgrading some of our technology for the games. Getting a new end zone system that hopefully works better.
Yeah.
Because you can actually watch the game replay on the sideline
That
as
is
coaches.
awesome.
So that has to work and it has to be great. So when I was at the American Football Coaches Association conference in San Antonio,
right,
a lot of exhibitors, a lot of booths. One of my things was I'm going to evaluate the replay technology and find a company that can really get it done. And through my research, I think we found one which is going to be awesome.
Oh, that's great.
So those sort of things. And Coach Matt Vignal has the esteemed title now of being our equipment manager.
I saw that. That's great.
I know he's so proud of it. But he's like, I want to learn as much as I can about everything. I'm like,
that's
okay,
great.
Well, welcome. So we just redid our uniform order. Matt did all of that. And building the roster. It's everything starts with that roster, and we call it a whip, that work in progress. 2022 varsity whip. It's always a work in progress. It's always moving and changing and shaping, and so building that roster allows us to communicate, allows us to track, allows us to follow everything, allows us to order the jerseys, allows us to do all those things, project how many helmets we're going to need, all that miserable stuff.
Right. Because it never works out.
Until
like the
exactly.
the final, you see that last head that you need to.
Right. And we ordered, like Dom last year ordered himself a small, like Dom.
I
remember that? Like, Dom, you're not, like, I know you want to look all good and everything, but so then we had to fix that. And
some of those uniforms were pretty tight.
We're getting in the weeds now, but other than that, we're just siempre adelante. We're moving forward.
Awesome. That's great. Well, again, Padre football fans, we will bring you this monthly. We'll discuss different things, different preparation and, athletic training, things that the boys are doing. And of course, highlight any out of Serra Padre football items that our
sure.
athletes are doing.
We did forget, this is heavy recruiting season. So University of Washington was here yesterday working out.
Interesting. And that's for the February.
That's for the February signing day.
That is the official signing day, right?
Yeah,
like the December one
correct.
Is just kind of
it's an early signing date. So there's two official ones. So there's the early signing date in December, which some of our kids were.
We had 4.
Yeah.
Right. We had 4 total.
We had.
Or was it 5 with Tommy Rogers? 3 football players and Tommy Rogers. Yeah.
Right.
So 4.
So Hassan, Elu, and Azo.
Correct.
And then hopefully we'll have a few more.
That's exciting.
So we got San Diego State's here today. University of Washington was here yesterday. I know Reno's coming through. Like, this is the time where the guys can get out on the road and recruit. So Coach Wilcox from Cal, the head coach, came to Dawn Patrol and.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that was his first stop.
3 from Cal, I heard, right?
Yeah.
My
little
bird's
birdies.
eye. Yeah.
I wish they could come every day because that just. For some reason, the effort level just seems to get a little bit higher when a guy in the corner with a W or a bear on his thing. Maybe I'll sneak in with like a little logo and they'll work harder.
There you go.
It's all of a sudden that the energy's just through the roof.
It's like the guys with the clipboards in the white truck. Like, you'll do anything they say when they come out. You're like, oh God.
That's right. That's
you
right.
Just throw a logo on. That's awesome. Well, wonderful. Well, one thing I did want to mention, because people that listen to our podcast obviously listen for the wisdom and wonderful. I mean, you just speak so well, and you bring so much life into this sport. And I just wanted to mention that you will be one of our speakers at our Fun to Dream event on March 12th, which is our most aggressive fundraising event for tuition assistance, and every cent goes to our tuition assistance, which is amazing. We've made $6 million, almost $6 million in the last 18 years. So this is our 18th year, actually, and you've been a big part of this effort for years, and I know that you and Father Joe Bradley will be live and speaking at the event, and I appreciate that. I know the whole Serra community does, but for those listening and that want to attend, it's a very fun evening of entertainment and, really talking about the nuts and bolts of our school and why it's important to support it. For those, potential Padres that have all the qualities that we want, but might not have all the means to get here. So it's a really great program. We're excited to hear you talk. So more information will come on that. But just before we go, just about the tuition assistance program and Fun to Dream in general, do you have any, I know it's helped a lot of your your athletes and students here.
Yeah, it's so Fun to Dream. Lars Lund, back in the day when he was the president, brought this in. And it's the feel-good event of the year, I'd like to say. I mean, obviously there's great sporting events, and our musicals are great. This is an opportunity for the entire Serra community, people who love the kids and want to contribute, to come together and donate to a kid's dream.
Right.
And not everyone has the opportunity to come to Serra. It is expensive. We're a business that sells education. And if we do a good job, people will buy it. If we don't do a good job, people won't. I mean, I heard a speech a long time ago in Boston where first thing the guy stood up and said was, this was a Partners in Mission, I think. Mm-hmm. It's a great event. Guy stands up and he goes, there's no guarantee your school will be here in 10 years or 5. And I'm like, damn, that was a strong opener, right? And, because we are a tuition-based school, we have to do a great job in education. We have to do a great job with the spirit of the boys and with our mission statement and, building men of faith, wisdom, service, community, and leadership, which I think we do a great job.
Fantastic.
But not everybody can afford it. So then what? Fund a Dream and other fundraising things. So Fund a Dream for us is the number one thing that impacts lives directly, because it helps kids who cannot afford to pay for Serra come to Serra. It's the greatest night. And I'm very, very honored to be a part of it, because I've never been a speaker at it before. And the fact that Father Joe's the headliner and is going to be a really, really special night. I'm really hopeful that all the football players come back. We make it like a homecoming event, basically.
100%.
Because they not come back for me, but come back for Father Joe, and come back for the kids that need the money to help them get the education and be a part of the brotherhood, that without it they wouldn't have that chance. So I'm very, very thrilled. I'm so excited. It's March 12th. So
it's March 12th,
yeah.
and we'll be doing a great job of marketing it and get all the information on ticket sales and everything to
Great.
Our community. But we do thank you for, obviously, for today, for everything you do, but the fact that you're going to be speaking live at that event it's going to be wonderful. So we appreciate it. So
yeah. So please show up. I don't want to be speaking to nobody out there.
I'll be out there.
Hi.
Mic. No. Lastly, I just had one question. Is there any news on the varsity football banquet and ring ceremony?
So
because they did get a ring, right?
We got rings. Yeah, we got rings. Anytime the number one team in Northern California, which the first time we, ranked that high, and winning a CCS championship, it's we're the number one team over here, and
that's amazing.
They need to be celebrated. And while I won't say state champions, there's still a ton to celebrate with this team. So yes, we will. It's usually dependent upon the delivery of the rings. So sometime in late March or April, which is fine with me, because it kind of pushes it out.
Exactly.
And, Alf's putting together a great highlight video, and it's just another good feel-good night and a great way to send the guys off to prom and the seniors and everyone going
some bling.
With a little bit of bling. So I always love the pictures at prom when they're yeah. So
that's awesome.
That's cool.
Wonderful. Well, again, thank you for your time, your
welcome.
talent, everything, and go Padres.
Go
I'm excited
Padres.
to be back.